Here on the Laura Ingraham Show, who basically says, what's the rush? Senator Cotton, how are you? Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, Laura.
Senator Cotton,
Well,
you heard Paul Ryan.
How are you doing?
Yeah, you heard Paul Ryan there. It's like, this has not exactly been a fast push here. You guys have had years, and you've gone through all these committees, and so these concerns that this is all too fast are really unfounded.
Well, the Speaker is right that for years we've stood for repealing Obamacare and replacing it with a system that will promote more choice and security for all Americans and bring down health insurance premiums that would really address all of the problems in our health care system that predated Obamacare. Obamacare promised to solve, but actually made them worse. But for the longest time during campaigns, that's been a matter of concepts and principles. Those concepts and principles have to be translated into legislative language, and then members of Congress and the public need the opportunity to fully evaluate that language, to hear from experts, to weigh the facts and the evidence, and to make informed decisions. And we did not receive any legislative language until Monday night, and then the House committee started voting on it Wednesday morning. To me, that is simply too fast a pace for us to understand fully all the implications that this legislative text contains, and to make sure that we're getting health care reform right. And I care much more about getting it right than getting it fast.
The president tweeted out a few days back, despite what you hear in the press, health care is coming along great. We're talking to many groups, and it will end in a beautiful picture. Is that accurate, Senator?
I certainly hope it's going to end in a beautiful picture, Laura. Look, again, legislative text was just released Monday night. And under normal circumstances, we would be in the early stages of having hearings and fully reviewing the implications of that text. I think the House moved a little too fast to allow that to happen, but we don't have to continue moving that fast. We can take a pause. The House Budget Committee is going to be evaluating this legislation. They can take a more deliberate approach. The House as a whole can move a little bit more slowly, have an open amendments process, and then ultimately, if it passes the House, which right now I don't think it would, but if it ultimately does because of changes, then the Senate can do the same. And if we do so, we will have a chance to get health care reform right, not get it fast, and what the President tweeted would be accurate.
There was a report, I'm sure you saw it, Senator Cotton, just a few days ago, that behind closed doors in a meeting with groups like the Heritage Foundation, Club for Growth, Americans for Prosperity, Freedom Works, and a Tea Party organization, that President Trump said that they are helping the other side with their remarks about the GOP plan, and he hinted at primary challenges for those who don't get on board fairly quickly. What was your reaction when you heard that? I was dismayed, personally, to hear that.
Laura, I wasn't in the meeting and haven't spoken to anybody who was, so I can't comment on what specifically happened there. I want Republicans to be united around the goal that we've all had and that I still have and share with every other Republican I know, which is repealing Obamacare and getting health care reform right. And it's not surprising that just 1 week after legislative text is finally released that we have some differences of opinion. The way to resolve those differences is to be deliberative and careful in our approach to health care reform, which, as we said during the Obamacare debates, is remaking 1/6 of the entire economy and touching the lives of every American in a personal and intimate way.
Senator, I've heard you say that before, and I think your point is well taken. But this question of the president, so early on in his administration, threatening all of these groups that have been working for years and doing, frankly, incredible work, a groundbreaking analysis of the healthcare system. They've all registered big concerns. I assume you're on board with a lot of what they believe and think about this. I certainly am. And to be either implicitly or explicitly threatened. You don't have a comment on that? I mean, I don't think all these groups are making this up, that this happened behind closed doors.
Well, Laura, I mean, I can't comment on what happened behind closed doors in a meeting I didn't attend.
What if he threatens you, Senator? Let me put it that way. You're a straight shooter. What if he threatens you? You're not afraid, are you, if the president threatens to primary challenge you?
I will tell the president exactly what I tell Arkansans, that I work for 3 million Arkansans, and I'm going to make sure that the bill on which I vote protects them and serves their interests. I hope the president and I can agree on this. As I've always said, I'll support the president when I think he's right, and I'll try to change his mind when I think he's wrong. And if I can't change his mind, then I'll have to oppose him.
Paul Ryan made this, very impassioned plea last week in saying, and I'm sure you saw it, where he said, "This is our only chance. And, we're not going to have a chance to repeal and replace. This is as close as we're going to get," he said. And again, basically saying that anyone who throws a monkey wrench into this process will really hurt Republicans going forward, since this was such a big and important part of President Trump's and the Republicans' legislative agenda. And so, to me, I heard that and I thought, oh, okay, here we go. So all you conservative types are being very inconvenient.
Well, I've heard lots of leaders in Congress try to portray this as a so-called binary choice. So this is a binary choice, either this bill or nothing. And I just think that that's a false choice. We all want to repeal Obamacare. This legislation has a lot of flaws in it. We can fix those flaws if we take a deliberative approach. But it is not a binary choice at this moment that we have to vote on this bill, in this kind of rushed fashion. Otherwise, we will never repeal Obamacare. This is not like a spending bill up against a deadline, Laura. There's no impending deadline. There's nothing that's going to cause the government to shut down or any other action-forcing moment. We have a chance to get it right, not get it fast, and that's what we should be focused on.
And Senator Cotton, finally on this, the hook on which Speaker Ryan is hanging the procedural issue of the reconciliation is that you can't do all the stuff that a lot of the conservatives want to do in this process. That's going to come in phase 3 down the road. Well, presumably phase 3 you need 60 votes. So they hang it on the Byrd rule. Byrd's been gone for years, and old Byrd is still having an effect on Congress, which I think is funny. But couldn't they change this Byrd rule if they wanted in the Senate?
The so-called Byrd rule is a law. It's not a rule. So you'd have to change the underlying Budget Act. But let me just say this, Laura, about this so-called 3-phase process. That's just not going to happen. That's just politicians' talk. It's just all talk. It's just spin. Phase 1 under this, as you say, is a so-called reconciliation bill that can pass with a simple majority in the Senate. Phase 2 is as yet unwritten regulations, which are going to be subject to the whims of the most liberal judge in America. And phase 3 is some imaginary bill that might pass with Democratic support. Well, if we had Democratic support, we wouldn't need phase 2 and phase 3. We would just be passing a bill right now with Democrats and more than 60 votes. That's why it's important that we get this bill right, because we have no guarantees about what might happen in the mythical phase 2 and phase 3.
Yeah, it's like Alice in Wonderland, the phase 3. It sounds good, though. We got phase 1, we got phase 2, then we got phase 3. It all sounded good, but then you start thinking about it. It's like, wait a second. That phase 3 ain't never going to happen.
It's all talk, Laura.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So just very briefly, I don't want to do the whole interview on Obamacare, but so lay out how you would see this going better in the overall process of you repeal all of Obamacare initially, correct? Is that what you would do?
Yeah. So, Laura, I'd take there's 2 main parts of Obamacare, 2 main parts of this bill: Medicaid and the individual insurance market. The Medicaid parts of this bill do have some really important reforms to Medicaid in the long term to deliver better health care and lower prices for the taxpayer. I think we can improve that, but it's much closer to a sound final product. The individual insurance market provisions, though, I'm afraid, are simply not going to bring down the price of health insurance premiums. They might, in fact, accelerate the increases. So we need to take a much deeper look at all the regulations of Obamacare that are primarily responsible for driving up the price of premiums. If we do that, I think we can get to a result that delivers good quality, affordable health care for all Americans, no matter how they get it. Because Obamacare, remember, didn't just increase the cost of insurance on exchanges, it increased the cost of the insurance that people get through their jobs as well with all those regulations. So that's the way I would approach this bill.
We're talking to Senator Tom Cotton here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Senator Cotton, another point I wanted to raise to you is the is John McCain's comment over the weekend about the president's tweet from 2 Saturdays ago. Let's listen.
The president has one of two choices, either retract or to provide the information that the American people deserve, because if his predecessor violated the law, President Obama violated the law, we've got a serious issue here, to say the least.
Do you have any reason to think that this charge is true?
I have no reason to believe that the charge is true, but I also believe that the President of the United States could clear this up in a minute.
Is it time for the president to clear this up per John McCain's recommendation?
Well, Laura, the president has said that he would like the Congressional Intelligence Committee to review these matters as part of our broader inquiry into Russia's activities in our political system last year. We'll do just that. There are reasons why the executive branch is reluctant to release this kind of information, because it can reveal what we know and what we don't know, and therefore what we're capable of knowing. But I would make a larger point, Laura. I know the media and the Democrats have been obsessed about the president's tweets now for over a week. But last weekend, Jim Clapper, Barack Obama's director of national intelligence, said that he had seen no evidence of such surveillance, and that's been in the news a lot. But he said something else that's much more fundamental, that he had seen no evidence of any cooperation between Trump associates and Russian officials. And the media has largely ignored that. But that is the main question that the Democrats have been raising with some of their wild-eyed, hair-on-fire conspiracy theories. I'm not saying that we have to take Jim Clapper's statement on face value. We should review the evidence, and we are doing that on the Intelligence Committee. But Democrats might want to take heed of what Jim Clapper said when he said that as of January 20th, he, as Director of National Intelligence, had seen no such evidence of any cooperation between Trump associates and Russian officials.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no there. Now they're trying to make the new story, the new iteration of the story, Senator Cotton, is Mike Flynn's work on behalf of Turkey while he was working for the Trump campaign and then the transition. Have you learned anything about this that would concern you?
I have not, Laura, but we haven't been in session since this news broke. I would simply say that at this point, Mike Flynn is a private citizen. He had a distinguished military career. He left as national security advisor after he had provided incomplete information to Mike Pence about his conversations with the Russian ambassador. I'm not sure what, if any, will do about Mike Flynn's activities as a private citizen before he became national security advisor. But at this point, I'm more focused on General H.R. McMaster and making sure that he's a success as Donald Trump's national security advisor.
And before we let you go, Senator Cotton, more troops, U.S. troops sent to Syria last week. The president hasn't addressed the increase, which isn't massive, but still we have a much bigger presence than I think a lot of Americans thought we had, and we did have a year ago. And is your sense now that this keeps going the way it's going in Syria, that the president should address the nation on our involvement and our uptick in troop presence, specifically the Marines?
Well, Laura, I know that the military provided the president with new potential courses of action against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. My understanding is that the president is still deliberating on those proposed courses of action. Once he settles on a new or modified strategy, I do think it would be worthwhile for the president to speak publicly about exactly what he plans to change and how we're going to achieve our goal of destroying the Islamic State.
Senator Cotton, it's always great to talk to you. I have a question, actually really important question. Do you still have the beard, or did you get rid of it over the break?
No, I still have it. My wife still likes it.
I like your beard, too. I think, didn't you say that your wife and I were the only people who liked it? But I think it looks great. I'm not a beard person, but I knew it looks good. Otherwise, you look like you're 12. I mean, you look so young.
And it keeps me warm on cold days like this.
Exactly. Senator Cotton, check back with us soon. It's great to talk to you as always. We'll take a break. Don't go away.
The Laura Ingraham